Yeah, good afternoon, all of you. So I warm welcome all of you in the second session of the second day. And this session we are having the two speaker. One is Dr. Amit Kumar Gupta, Additional Director, Regional Office Lucknow, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. And second speaker is Dr. Sivaji Bagar from Swami Shraddhanand College, University of Delhi. With these words, I invite our convener, Dr. Kalyani Krishna, senior most faculty of Sri Venkateswara College. So over to you, ma'am.
Thanks, Abhishek. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, again, a warm welcome all of you to the post-lunch session today. And I hope we must have all thanked a farmer because we had our lunch, sumptuous one. And I can also understand why you're joining so late. Well, the siesta after lunch and so on. But now the speaker has been extremely punctual, Dr. Gupta. So I welcome you all to hear what he has to say. And it's an absolute pleasure to introduce Dr. Gupta to all of you. He's the speaker, the first speaker, as in the afternoon session, as Dr. Abhishek Chandra has said, and he's going to talk to us about the environmental clearance processes and compliance. He's going to give us a glimpse into a very important aspect of not just formulating things, but also to make people realize, understand, and comply to those. Otherwise, there's no point really making any kind of rules and regulations. So, like I said, it is an honor to have him with us. And then I'll give a brief introduction before he gives his talk. Dr. A.K. Gupta, Amit Kumar Gupta, has been working in the area of environmental protection for the last 2 decades. And for the last 11 years, he has been with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and is currently posted as an additional director in the Integrated Regional Office at Lucknow. Dr. Gupta completed his PhD in Environmental Science from University of Lucknow in collaboration with NBRI, National Botanical Research Institute, a CSIR organization. And since then, he has received various postdoctoral fellowships. There's so many of them, very prestigious ones. A BK21 postdoctoral fellowship from South Korea, NTU postdoctoral fellowship from National Taiwan University, Taipei, Taiwan, visiting research scholar at Hong Kong Baptist University, Hong Kong. In addition, he also received DST Young Scientist Fellowship from Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Dr. Gupta's main areas of research are phytoremediation of heavy metal or metalloid from contaminated soil and water, plant responses against environmental stresses, revegetation of industrially waste polluted sites, heavy metal and organics and their dietary intake by humans, aquatic macrophyte systems for wastewater management, vermicomposting, environmental monitoring, and I can go on and on. So he has a multifaceted research interest and also application-based work that he does, which is of tremendous value to the environmental upgradation. He has published around 43 research papers and 7 review papers in international journals, peer-reviewed international journals, and has also published 5 book chapters in different books. And he writes both in English and Hindi. So feel free to converse with him in any language you are comfortable with. So I invite Dr. Gupta cordially to take over and deliver his talk. Thank you so much. Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. Very good afternoon to all. I just not wasting the time. I come to the main task which are given by your organization to give a detailed glimpse on the issues of environmental clearance processes and compliances in India. I just come with very basic composition of the nature. I just want to aware all to you because you people are quite familiar, but I think some technical concerns are there with the composition of nature. Just for example, our nature is composed by 5 elements, comprisingly space that we can feel in form of sound, and the second one is a wind where we can feel in form of sound and touch. I'm audible to all?
Yes, sir, you are the audible.
Please, please. And the
Yes,
third
sir,
one is
you are. Yeah.
third one, fire, where we can feel in form of sound, touch, and form. The next one is a water. Here we can feel this water in form of sound, touch, form, and taste. And the next one is, and last is earth, where we can sound, feel in the form of sound, touch, form, taste, as well as smell. And this comprisingly form the environment. We completely say this is a part of environment. It means environment have the 5 components, that is a space, wind, fire, water, and earth. So now come to my thought. Importance of the environment ministry in any of the country is how to control our natural resources destruction or deviation, or you can say we have to protect our natural resources in various way. And the development is also part of the human being, so the development is also very important part in which we can balance our natural resources, and we can through process of developmental activities, we generate various kind of wastes. We can certainly polluted our natural resources or deteriorate our natural resources, that we can assess in the form of environmental impact. That is a main concern of any project or any activities going on the earth surface, and their protection is also important. As we are familiar that in India, the you can say in our constitution 42nd amendment, which was held on 1976, the word environment is introduced in our constitution of India. And Article 48A, the Constitution under Part 4, dealing the directive principles of state policy, state as under protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forest and wildlife. After that, Article 51A, it also come in the form, and they clearly stated that to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lake, river, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So these are the things we are, you can say, talking about, comes in our constitution in late 1976 onwards. And finally, it formed various acts. So in reference to Environmental Protection Act are some related acts. First act which come in the existence in 1974 in form of the Water Act. Afterward, EIA started for river valley projects like hydropower projects. Just for example, Tehri hydro projects EIA was conducted in 1975 or 76 onwards. So then after EIA come in the Indian scenario, and in that it means we have conducted, yeah, we have evaluated the impact of projects, especially in form of river valley. Then after in 1981 we come with the Water Act. After that we in 1986 we come with a EPA Act, Environmental Protection. That is one of the most important act for you can say environment in India. And in first EIA notification, that is an environmental impact assessment notification, come in the existence in 1994. After that, in November 2006, we came with a very powerful EIA notification, which covered around 37 area of the you could say projects. And recently we have draft notification 2020 come in the force, which has not been finalized so far. So these are the picture about ministry. Yeah, you can say in India, what kind of regulations are working in concern with the environmental protection, or we can say environmental impact. And now come to the point. The questions are very common. Why ministry requested to project proponent for the preparing of EIA report? I think you are all familiar with the EIA, is it? क्या आप सभी familiar हैं EIA से? Hello.
No. No, sir.
Are you familiar with the EIA report? No.
I don't
So
think
EIA
so.
is a kind of tools. EIA is a kind of
Yeah.
tools where we can simply assess the impact of the coming project. Okay. And that we can visualize based on the background data. For example, any power or any thermal power or any road or any other kind of industries come is planning to coming to set up their industry in some city or some villages or etc. So in that scenario, we can firstly we can assess the area, the location, wind velocity over there. I mean to say, we trying our focus on the, you can say, geographical map. Then we can see the sources of water. We can assess quality of soil texture and what is the way of permeability, wind velocity, so biodiversity. So there is a number of sequential analysis is there, and based on that data we can assume after installation of the coming project what would be the impact on the environment or particular component of the ecosystem. So this is a, you can say, protective planning tools providing a major meeting points between development decisions and environmental management. That is basically EIA. And what how we can EIA? So we can way the formal process for identifying likely effect or activities or project on the environment and on human health and welfare. Means we can easily define environment. EIA is a impact is used instead of effect of activities, and what kind of impact that may be either in form of you can say deterioration of the water quality, deterioration of the local air environment, or deterioration of the plant biodiversity or animal diversity. So there is a number of things where the coming project would be given on their impact. Okay. So as I have already told, baseline situation, baseline data is very important. For example, water quality data, depth of the water level, soil texture, quality of soil, whether fertile soil are there or not fertile there, what kind of problems with the soil, faunal diversity is there, environmental health, some disease vectors or etc, floral diversity, special ecosystem. So that kind of analysis we have concluded in our EIA report. Okay. So in India, the first EIA was come in the existence in 1978 for hydroelectric power plant, followed by some thermal power plant. In 1994, Department of Environment, earlier we can say Department of Environment, which comes in the existence as a Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1986, was doing all projects required PIB approvals. EIA for environmental clearance was made mandatory in 1994 under. After that, in 2006, we have come with the powerful in EIA notification, and in that category we listed 32 categories, which now be increases to 37 categories. So these are the basic you can say information about the EIA. Now come to the basic the very important notification which we can say EIA notification 2006. So these notification having some very, you can say, very clear demarcation about the projects. As per as EIA notification 2006, we differentiate project in two parts, that is a category A and category B, depending upon the quantity, air production quality or nature of the project. Requirement of priority. As for notification, every project required prior environmental clearance. That is a legally mandatory for each and every project covered under the 37 categories of, which require prior environmental clearances from the ministry or from the state environmental appraisal authority, which is constituted by the ministry, but their working mandate is restricted with the respective state. And as I have already told, the projects are two types. So category A is appraised by the ministry in center, and the category B is appraised by the respective SEA/SEAC in the state. Okay, that is a category. In category B, we have further categorization B1 and B2, but now B2 is not in existence due to some you can say litigations. Which has been appraised by the ministry in central, and category B, which has been appraised by state. Okay, and that project has been, you can say, assessed by group of expert, in which we can say EAC, Environmental Appraisal Committee. Now, categorization of project, as we have already told, there are two categories of projects, category A and category B, depending upon the production and now come to the structure of the EAC. In ministry, I mean to say Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, we have various EAC committees. For example, a specific committee for the thermal power plant, a specific committee for the coastal regulatory zone, matlab CRZ notifications, separate committee for the industry 1, separate for industry 2, industry 3, like infra 1, infra 2, coal mining, non-coal mining, river valley and hydropower, and we have one special committee that is for violation projects. Those who are violated, which means they have not taken the prior environmental clearance so far, they can take a they have to approach to ministry under the violation committee and get further appraisal. For the categorization of industry 1, 2, 3, I just give you brief about the industry 1, 2, 3. 3 is basically dealing with the various chemical industries, various pesticide industries. Industry 2 is solely depend upon the, you can say, petrochemicals. And industry 1 is basically solely depend on the, you can say, metallurgical processes. For example, iron ore processes or bauxite processes, alumina to aluminum formation, so copper smelting. So such kind of industry come into industry 1, industry 2 having the petroleum related industry, and industry 3 is related with the fertilizer, API it means bulk drug, etc. Infra 1, infra 2 is a basic differentiation. Is the infra is basically related with the projects which are related with the you can say construction, and infra 2 is related with the some you can say industrial cluster. For example, any industrial cluster coming into any city like that. Coal, specifically coal, including lignite, and non-coal we have various major minerals like copper, iron, chromium, I mean to say chromite, bauxite, feldspar. So these come in the non-coal mining sectors. And river valley and hydropower, as you all familiar, river it means any dam formation come under the river valley projects, and any hydro that also covered in that category. And violation, as I already told, those projects which have not taken prior environmental clearance in past, they come to the ministry and have to apply under the violation committee and get their approval. So these are the structure which are very set up in the ministry level. But as far as structure in SEA, we do not have different sectors. We have only one committee which deals all kind of sectors. Okay. So during the appraisal of the, you can say, projects, we have imposed, I mean to we, it means ministry or SEA, they have imposed various conditions that is based on their nature of the project. And that condition is also categorized in two forms, that is a specific and a general. Specific is it means the project oriented conditions. For example, if any projects come for the come with the thermal power plant concept, So we have give some specific condition related with the thermal related projects. Or any project lies in the low-lying area. So we have give some specific condition to protect the low-lying area related all. General condition, it means you have to develop green belt, you have to set up rainwater harvesting, you have to provide basic infrastructure to the, you can say, labor and all, uh, permissions obtained from various state organizations. So these kind of general conditions we have categorized in a separate form, that is a general condition. And in specific, it means project specific conditions we have imposed in a specific conditions. Appraisal of EAC, as I have already told, ministry have 9 EACs. So these EACs have various members. So in normal course, every EAC have 10 members from different organizations, even some from the Delhi University, some from IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur, IIT Mumbai. So you can say India level experts, they have taken part in the EAC. Scientists, that is parallel to Umai, they are dealing as a member secretary in the CAT committee, and supporting scientists and ROR, some technical officers are there. However, in the post EC monitoring, after getting the EC, we have monitored the project on regular frequencies. That is basically governed by, that is basically conducted by the scientists appointed in various regional offices of this country. These are the category, and you can say monitoring authorities and all. This is just for your information. That is not much issues. Now we have 19 regional offices throughout the country. So these are the list. Shillong, which covers Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura. Bihar, Ranchi regional office, which deals the state of Bihar and Jharkhand. Bhubaneswar deals with the state of Odisha. Bengaluru, Chennai, Lucknow, it only covers the state Uttar Pradesh. Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. Nagpur, Maharashtra. Chandigarh, Haryana and Punjab. Dehradun, that is supposed to deal with the Uttarakhand. Jaipur, this is very recently constituted by the this office. It is covers Rajasthan and Delhi. Gandhinagar, Vijayawada, Raipur, Hyderabad, Shimla, Kolkata, Guwahati, Jammu. So they have their own jurisdictions, and they are the scientists posted in this offices. They are working on that particular projects. Now come to the main part where I need your attention. That is a major environmental concern in industrial point of view. So now come to the common environmental issues during the monitoring of projects. What we have faces, that is overburden. I think you people are aware about the overburden. Overburden, it means while excavating any kind of mineral from the mines area, some mineral based materials are available in the mines. Apart from that, some overburden materials are also there. It means those which not contain any kind of valuable elements. So we can call overburden. So in that scenario, basically we calculated in the base of stripping ratio. For example, in state of Odisha, there is a lot of iron ore mines are there, in which in that particular state, the stripping ratio of iron ore is quite low as compared to the Jharkhand, because Jharkhand iron ore mines is not so good in respect to the content of the iron available in there. So like that, our focus is on the important issue, how to manage, how to store, how to excavate overburden from the mines, and what their further utilization for their further management. So that is a very tedious job, and I think every mining people, every mining sector, they are suffering on the issues of overburden management. So that is a very important issues. Every every kind of you can say mining sectors, they have their own particular kind of problems. Second one is the green belt development. Green belt development is a common with all kind of projects, especially for those who are lying in the state of Rajasthan, because Rajasthan is not so conducive for the green belt development, especially in the, you can say, border area. So, but there are a lot of mines are there in the state of Rajasthan. So the problem with the green belt development is always challenging in the state of the Rajasthan. Now next is a dust control. During excavation of the mineral, in any or mineral or production of the cement or any kind of material, dusty material is emitted throughout the industry. So the control of dust is very important, and dust control is more related with the green belt development. If we have developed sufficient or significant green belt in particular industries, we have to control the dust emission, I think, more or less in a very significant way. Now, third one is a government is very strict on the liquid discharge. Now we are very strict on the issue of zero liquid discharge, like water-oriented industry like tannery, distillery, paint, paper. These are thermal. These are the water-based industry. It means they are using ample amount of water in their processes and discharging. Now, ministry, organization, those who are dealing this system, this complete environmental protection rules, they enforce to each and every industry to work on JLD. And now we are happy to say all industry, they are bound to work, they are bound to comply zero liquid discharge by adopting various technology like MEEE, multi-effect evaporator for the for a distillery plant, then after CPU, condensate polishing unit, and after that they can reuse the water in case of distillery. In case of thermal, they have already set up various treatment processes, and they after that they can utilize treated water in the processes. So there is a number of ways to reuse the water in their own industry. So by the forcing of JLD system, now we are in a good position to save the water. Third one is a waste heat recovery system. That is another issue which is related with the utilization of maximum amount of heat which we can emit it into the atmosphere by our processes. Now we are enforcing to project to use that waste heat in for the production of electricity or some other processes. So that is also very important. And now every, you can say, cement grinding unit as well as clinker unit, all you can say mineral processing units, they are having waste heat recovery system. As I have already discussed about wastewater minimization, that is related with zero liquid discharge. Personal protective equipments, that is important related with the human protection. आप सभी जानते होंगे कि सभी लोग आज के डेट में जैसे रोड पे अभी मेट्रो का कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है में और सम अदर एक्टिविटीज आर गोइंग ऑन थ्रू आउट द कंट्री. सो वहां आप देखते होंगे कि लोग हेलमेट लगाते हैं, शूज प्रोटेक्टिव शूज लेते हैं, ग्लव्स पहनते हैं, मास्क लगाते हैं. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रोटेक्शन इज रिक्वायर्ड इन एवरी इंडस्ट्री, एंड नाउ वी आर वर्किंग वेरी हार्ड ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया. और वहां कमियां भी हैं, एज आई नो there is a lot of gaps are there, especially with the B category projects, because they have not so much you can say budget on that particular part. They are only focusing on the production part. So that kind of lacuna is there with the B category project. But in the A category, more or less the level of uses of personal protective equipments, that is really very good compliances. Gaseous emission in various form, चिमनी से बहुत तरह की gases release करते हैं. उसके लिए हम लोगों ने ऑनलाइन मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम इन्फोर्स किया है, जो अभी लगा भी रहे इंडस्ट्री तो लगा भी चुके हैं, और उसको हम क्लियरली क्लब कर रखे हैं सीबी और स्टेट पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड से कि हम जब भी इमिशन हाई हो हमारा अलार्म हो जाए उनको हम मैसेज के थ्रू अवेयर कर लें. फंक्शनिंग ऑफ ईटीपी एंड एसटीपी, दैट इज अनदर इशू बिकॉज इट रिक्वायर्ड वेरी हैवी मेंटेनेंस, देन only we can achieve our requirement. So now sector wise we come with the sector wise issues. ये जो फोटोग्राफ्स आप देख रहे हैं ये पर्टिकुलर उसी माइंस के फोटोग्राफ्स हैं जिसको मैंने लास्ट में विजिट भी किया हुआ, मेरा एक्सपीरियंस भी है. एक जैसे फर्स्ट है हमारा बॉक्साइट का, तो बॉक्साइट माइन इज वेरी कॉमन इन द स्टेट ऑफ उड़ीसा, इन द इवन इन द स्टेट ऑफ यू कैन से छत्तीसगढ़. बॉक्साइट के साथ बेसिक प्रॉब्लम क्या है, या बॉक्साइट या एल्यूमिनियम बनाने की यूनिट के साथ जो बेसिक इन्वायरमेंटल इश्यूज हैं वो है रेड मड का फॉर्मेशन, डस्ट इमिशन और वेस्ट वाटर का जनरेशन. तो ये जो तीन पार्ट है दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट विद द बॉक्साइट और यू कैन से एल्यूमिनियम फॉर्मेशन इंडस्ट्री. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट इसमें एक और कंसर्न है जिसके बारे में आई थिंक यू पीपल आर नॉट अवेयर, SPL, spent pot lining. Whenever we are forming या smelting करते हैं हम alumina से aluminium के लिए, in that process we can generate SPL, spent pot lining, and that is an unfortunate part for our country कि हमारे पास इसका कोई भी ट्रीटमेंट फैसिलिटी या कोई भी फर्दर इसका मैनेजमेंट का एक फुल प्रोग्राम नहीं है. So this is still open for the research. Sorry. Next one is the copper industry या copper mining. कॉपर की बहुत सारी माइनिंग आपके यहाँ राजस्थान स्टेट में भी है. सो इनके साथ भी एक प्रॉब्लम है. दे हैव जनरेटेड ए पर्टिकुलर काइंड ऑफ वेस्ट दैट इज वी कैन से जीरोसाइट. उसको लेके भी हमारे पास कोई भी आज के डेट में फुल प्रूफ ट्रीटमेंट सिस्टम या मैनेजमेंट नहीं है. ये भी R&D के लिए ओपन सेक्टर है. अब नेक्स्ट आते हैं हम जो सोप स्टोन, जो बहुत ही इवन ये जो बीकानेर की भुजिया भी आती है उसमें भी इसको मिक्स करते हैं. And that is a very, I think, important constituent for the cement industry also. So that kind of having industry having only problem with the dust emission. Next issues related with the fertilizer plant. So fertilizer plant have different kind of problem. More or less, they have problem with the ammonia handling and storage. As you know, in last, I think last to last December, one accident was happened in the IFCO Phulpur. Their 2 lives were badly hampered by the leakage of ammonia. So the ammonia is a highly toxic. Maintenance and storage is always challenging for us. Apart from that, fertilizer also having various problems. Fertilizer industry, I mean to say, gypsum management and its utilization. So these are the pictures. We can assess how much gypsum we are generated as a byproduct during the formation of phosphate rock. So their management is also important. And the phosphatic rock, how to reduce water consumption, that is issues with the phosphatic rock management. So these are the type of industry and where the problems are find. Now it is again repeated. Bauxite mines, which have already discussed. Chromite, that is a chromite mine. That is a very important, and that having various, you can say, significant effect on the water quality deterioration. As chromite mines, the chromium is available in mines in basically 3 forms. When it exposed to atmosphere, it converted to chromium 6. As you know, chromium 6 is a highly toxic. So the area in Sukinda Valley of the Odisha, they are highly contaminated with the chromium 6. And the problem is that we do not have any technology to extract to convert chromium 6 to chromium 3. So the issue with iron I have already discussed. Copper I have already discussed. Now come to some other part, that is an aquaculture form that is very common, especially in the coastal part of the country, and that they are using various kind of you can say very kind of hormonal injections they are putting into the air, into the water for the better growth of the fish and prawn and all. So after that, after the 2 or 3 cultivation, they have released all water to the sea. So that I think need a very, you can say, that need very proper handling of the waste water. So we enforced for the setup of portable ATP, but more or less the projects which are lying in the coastal part of this country are not basically complying that particular part, because you can say these projects are lying just in the coastal area, and their way of you can say monitoring is not appropriate, not easy to conduct by the officers, those who are posting the particular state. After that, port dragging, benthic ecosystem eutrophication, oil spillage, ये आप सभी टर्म्स आई थिंक आप लोग अपने कोर्स वर्क में पढ़े होंगे. ऑलिव टर्टल नेस्टिंग, जो उड़ीसा का एक बहुत एक पर्टिकुलर कह सकते हो इशू है हमारे बायोडायवर्सिटी एंगल से, वो एक अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है. बट वो चीजों का इम्पैक्ट ये डालता है जो पोर्ट की हमारी वर्किंग होती है, स्पेशली बेनेथिक इकोसिस्टम पे बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट आता है पोर्ट में, या जो ड्रेजिंग होती है उस पे. कूल वॉशर एक अलग प्रॉब्लम है. नाउ वी आर नॉट रनिंग सो मच वॉशर इन द इंडिया. We are directly using indigenous coal to fire in the boiler. So now the issue of washery is bit reduced, but the problem is it still exists with those who are still using the coal washery. फायर, जहां भी कोल हम स्टोर करते हैं वहां फायर होता है समर सीजन, मई जून में, ये तो कॉमन प्रॉब्लम है। कोल वॉशिंग की बात हो गई। ये कोल स्टोरेज इशू है, इनके साथ हमारे साथ डस्ट का बहुत बड़ा इशू है, और सरफेस रनऑफ का एक इशू है, उसका मैनेज करना ये इशू आता है। Now come to the some other issues like fly ash। अभी आपने कुछ सुना भी होगा, इंडिया में लास्ट, जहां तक मेरी नॉलेज है, लास्ट 5 to 6 years में 6-7 फ्लाई एश ब्रीचिंग इंसिडेंट, फ्लाई एश पॉन्ड ब्रीचिंग इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं, और एक बहुत ही बड़ा इम्पैक्ट डालता है ये नियर अबाउट द एग्रीकल्चर लैंड पे, वाटर क्वालिटी पे, और वहाँ की, मैं कह सकता हूँ जो भी ये सॉइल के जो बैक्टीरियाज होते हैं, इनको तो ये पूरा खत्म ही कर देता है, बिकॉज दे आर हाईली अल्कलाइन इन नेचर, और ये लगभग 12 के आसपास के पीएच के होते हैं फ्लाई एश जो होता है, और जब ये ब्रीच करता है वाटर के साथ, इट कवर्स थाउजेंड ऑफ एकड़ लैंड एंड दे कंप्लीटली, यू कैन से एग्रीकल्चर लैंड को नॉन एग्रीकल्चर लैंड में कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं, एंड विच इज नॉट पॉसिबल टू री कन्वर्ट टू एग्रीकल्चर लैंड। सो द लॉस ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर लैंड इज वेरी tremendous, you can say, issues related with the fly ash pond breaching. Apart from that, quality of water, groundwater is also deteriorated. Not only groundwater, even surface water is also deteriorated. Recently अभी आपके सोनभद्रा और ये विंध्यनगर में कुछ इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं, आपके नॉलेज में होना चाहिए। उसके बाद गैसियस इमिशंस हैं, उसको लेके भी हमने काफी गवर्नमेंट स्ट्रिक्ट हुई है। नाउ वी आर एनफोर्सिंग टू ऑल थर्मल पावर प्लांट टू सेट अप एफजीडी, जो सल्फर को कंप्लीटली वो सिक्वेस्ट कर लेंगे, और उससे हम जो 1991 का हमारा जो इनिशियल नॉर्म है, इनिशियल लेवल, उस पर हम अचीव कर जाएंगे 2025 तक। डिस्टिलरी के कंसर्न में हमारे स्पेंट वॉश मैनेजमेंट, जो डिस्टिलरी का वेस्ट वाटर होता है उसको कहते हैं स्पेंट वॉश। ये जो फोटोग्राफ दिखा रहे हैं हम, ये उसका लैगून है जहां हम स्टोर करते हैं। जो सेकंड फोटोग्राफ है, ये एमई जिसकी बात अभी हमने पहले की थी, मल्टी इफेक्ट इवोपरेटर। So these are the system where we can condensate that particular spent wash, and after that we can condensate को हम slope water follow करके energy ले लेते हैं, and some other waste material which are coming from the distillery which can pass through the CPU में हमारे जो simple treatment facility है along with the RO, और इसको फिर हम करके reuse में ले लेते हैं। ये जो कुछ फोटोग्राफ्स है, आपको रोड का जो पिक्चर हम बता रहे हैं, you just imagine how much dust are emitting during the construction activities or during the management of the, you can say, iron ores and all, और इसको हम कैसे कंट्रोल करते हैं। जब वैगन टिपलर, या वैगन टिपलर इट मींस जब रेल की बोगियां को हम अनलोड करते हैं, उस समय देखिए हम मिस्ट गन का यूज करते हैं, ड्राई फॉक्स का यूज करते हैं फॉर द कंट्रोलिंग ऑफ द डस्ट ओनली। सो दीज आर द वेरी कॉमन प्रैक्टिसेस adopted by all thermal power plant in the country, not only thermal, even including the mining plant. These are the sprinkler which are very advanced sprinkler। अभी जो एक ट्रेडिशन हमारा था कि हम एक ट्रैक्टर ले लेते थे, उसमें पीछे नोजल लगा के 2-3 छेद मार के पानी को यूज करते थे। तो इन दैट काइंड ऑफ ट्रेडिशनल सिस्टम वी कैन वेस्ट हेवी अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर, और जो सरफेस एरिया कवरेज था वो भी हमारा मिनिमल था। नाउ वी आर कमिंग विथ वेरी एडवांस्ड टेक्नोलॉजिकल स्प्रिंकलर्स, और ये जो बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, मैं फिर से आपको ये रिपीट करना चाहता हूँ, जो ए कैटेगरी प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, दे आर कंटिन्यूअसली इंप्रूविंग देयर कंप्लायंसेस इन रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑन वेरियस एस्पेक्ट्स पे। ये भी मिस्ट गन की बात हम कर रहे हैं, दैट इज वेरी कॉमन। अभी हम एन कैप के प्रोग्राम में सभी जितने भी हमारे स्टेट कैपिटल्स हैं उनको भी हमने डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया है कि हाउ टू कंट्रोल एम्बिएंट एयर क्वालिटी, और इसका बहुत मल्टीपर्पज यूज है। मोबाइल स्क्रीनिंग प्लांट, यहाँ भी हम उसको यूज कर सकते हैं। प्लांट जो ट्रीज लगते हैं रोड साइड, उनको क्लीनिंग में यूज कर सकते हैं इस मिस्ट गन को। सो देयर आर वेरियस यूजेस, और ये तो आप लोग जानते होंगे, इसमें मैं ज्यादा डिटेल में बताना नहीं चाहूंगा क्योंकि ऑलरेडी हमने डिस्कस कर रखा है। कोल की क्या कंसर्न है, आयरन मैग्नीज माइन में क्या प्रॉब्लम होती है, क्रोमाइट में क्या होती है। हाँ, ये जो ओबीडम का मैनेजमेंट है, ये आप थोड़ा सा जाने, ये एक अच्छी चीज है। रिक्लेमेशन ऑफ ओबी, जो ओबी हमारा ओवरबर्डन है उसको हाउ टू रिक्लेम। तो आप देखे होंगे यहाँ हम जाली लगा के, नेट लगा के उसमें प्रॉपर हम ग्रासिंग करते हैं, टर्फिंग करते हैं, और फिर इस पे धीरे धीरे हम एक ह्यूमस का फॉर्मेशन करके उसके उसमें प्लांटेशन कर लेते हैं। तो ये हम एक रिक्लेमेशन ऑफ ओबी को प्रोसेस यही करते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच।
Wow. Uh, Students, if you have participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm sure you must be having lots of queries because it's such a cutting edge kind of work, a cutting edge kind of presentation. I'm sure most of you are very concerned. Please do ask questions, all of you. Participants? I think they are overwhelmed. Subhankar, you have any question? Because it is so unusual, it's so different from rest of the talks we had till now.
Yes, yes. That's a very practical thought and very
Yes, it
practical,
is.
you can say,
Yes,
things.
yes,
I think majority of students, they have to face such kind of problem in near future.
yes. So I think most of them are completely overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah, if they are the understand, they can also start their consultancy or something like that in the
Or they can
Yeah,
just
of course,
join
of
this
course.
ministry.
I think few of them have to join our ministry in future.
Yes, yes, sir. Subhankar, I'm sure you have some question. No? Otherwise, I'll have to ask because I have quite a few.
Yeah, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So I have a few, Dr. Gupta. First of all, let me congratulate you. Your work must be so difficult because it takes so many sectors of society. I mean, brings them together. I'm sure sometimes it is dangerous also, if I may say so,
Yeah,
because
yeah, of course, of course.
mining is generally a forte of bigger corporations
Hmm.
generally. So I have some questions regarding that. One is, you said that prior to start any project or EIA, whatever you said, you need to have some uh, prior information, like say what was the vegetation there, what was the soil water condition,
Yes,
or
yes,
any
yes,
other.
yes,
But by the
yes.
time we realize that things are going bad and the project started by Ministry of Environment, Forest, whatever, some damage must already have been done, right? So you wouldn't
Hmm.
know the original composition of that place where you are working.
Of course, madam. I think during the preparation of EIA report, that is basically prepared by the NABAT approved consultant, uh, and in that report they have clearly indicated what number yeah, type of species present in particular area, especially flora fauna both, numbers, diversity, soil texture, water level, depth, quality, etc. Everything they have to put in the EIA reports. And normal course, the EIA comprising about 300 to 400 pages. So even we can also assess how much wind velocity, predominant wind velocity, how much you can say population density near about the area. So we have assumed each and everything during the preparation of the EIA report. And while appraising that particular report, during the appraisal of the project, our committee members, including ministry officers, they can easily, we are using a number of software in the processes, and we can easily assess how much impact is going to be on that particular area. Accordingly, we have imposed several conditions to the project. During the formation, during the construction of the project, you have to set up such kind of activity, you have to do such kind of activities. After completion of the project, you have to do such kind of thing. Yeah, you have to set up such particular kind of instrument to control things. So we are very keen on each and every point, but still there is a lot of lacunas there. I agree. In second part, I also agree there is a number of lacunas are there in the system. It means part of compliances,
Yes.
because it is a multi-dimensional issues.
Yeah, according about that, sir, I have one question. What do you do if there is no compliance? If in case of non-compliance,
Yeah,
how do you deal? Because the other
yes,
party
yes.
might be powerful, the other party might have a
No,
lot of
no, no.
money, muscle
Uh,
power.
first,
How do
if
you
we have
manage?
noticed non-compliances, first we have to issue the so cause, and so cause give 15 days to 30 days time for their justification and their reply. Okay. After that, we have again visited the project, and if we found the project is still not serious on the issues, we can issue a closure. So this is a process, and we are strict, very strict.
Okay. No fines? Do you impose fines?
No, no. Under the EP Act, we do not have any right to put a financial state. But under the Water and Air Act, which has been dealing by the State Pollution Control Board, they have the right to pose the financial punishment. Even though NGT is also imposing financial punishment. I think you might be aware, near to your, your college, one projects are there. What we say? I forget the name. It is near to Mathura. NGT imposed 5 crore penalty recently.
Okay.
Okay. So that is a very common process.
Right. And so last question, just last question. What are your views in our commitment that we are going to phase out coal? Coal is completely going to be phased out, right? In coming.
Yes, yes.
So you.
As you know, government of India is also taking various steps for the conversion of our energy sector from coal to some others. Like we have also enforced implementation of solar panels throughout the country. We have also invited various organizations to come forward for the setup of the solar panel. First, second thing, we have also increased our nuclear power sectors in the country. So there is a no further scope in the development of the coal thermal power plant, and there is a no any chance, because after installation of the FGT is a very expensive instrument, and we have already enforced to all projects to set up the FGT up to 2023 or 24th. Central Electricity Authority already planned the program and directed to all thermal power for the country to set up their FGD. So after the commissioning of the FGD, the price of power is going to be increased double, almost double. That is my personal view. Okay. So now government is also thinking on that part. Therefore, they have also working on the various aspects. Now 17th hydroelectric power coming in the country in last 5 years. So we are working on that area, and government is working, because our mandate is only stick with the environmental regulation, but some other ministry, some other organization in government, they are working unanimously. What is the sector, which sector is going to be expensive, which sector is going to be cheap, what is the further outcome, what is the environmental norm throughout the country, throughout the world. So this agreement give me very clear picture. We are curtail our thermal power plant in coming days, and we have to, I think we have to stop all thermal power plant maybe by 3030 or 303540.
Yes. Sir, Ashutosh has a question. Ashutosh, please ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Haji.
Sir, as we know that recently in Glasgow summit, which was COP26, so in that summit, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has just committed to net zero emission by 2070. So, sir, what are your views on that? Will we be able to achieve that goal or not? Like,
are we officially? I'm not able to comment on that part, but personally, I feel very hard on that line, and I hope we are able to achieve it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Spoken just like a true government man, no, Dr. Gupta? Right. Sir, Subhankar has a question. Subhankar, please go ahead.
Yes. So, good afternoon, sir. Actually, as per I know little bit, I think, is there any, public participation process in disaster EIA?
Yes.
Excellent.
So, sir, might do every project follow this process of public participation in their execution or something? Very good question, sir.
Yes, that is I think one of our you can say process. After appraisal of the committee in the proposal, we have to give time to respective pollution control board to conduct public hearing in respect to particular project. And अगर आप रेगुलर अपने ये न्यूज़पेपर देखते होंगे घरों पे, टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया या जो भी XYZ आता होगा आपके पास, तो आप आई थिंक ऑलमोस्ट हर वीक में एक एडवर्टाइजमेंट पाते होंगे कि पब्लिक हियरिंग नोटिस. तो ये बेसिकली उसी का एक पार्ट है. दैट इज EIA. इट इज अ प्रोविजन ऑफ द EIA. और पब्लिक पार्टिसिपेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज लोकल इश्यूज बहुत ही कॉमन होते हैं हर प्रोजेक्ट्स के साथ. जस्ट फॉर एग्जांपल एक जो बेसिक मैं प्रॉब्लम बताता हूं आपको एम्प्लॉयमेंट का. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल हमने अपना खेत दिया है इस प्रोजेक्ट को लगाने के लिए, तो बट नेचुरल है मैं चाहूंगा कि हमें या हमारे घर को एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिले. पैसे तो अलग मिले हैं, जो जमीन के पैसे मिले वो तो एक अलग पार्ट है, बट सेकंड पार्ट है हमें एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिले. फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे गांव में कोई भी फ्रेश वाटर सप्लाई का सिस्टम नहीं है, तो हम प्रोजेक्ट्स के सामने ये पब्लिक हियरिंग में कहते हैं, प्रोजेक्ट वाले गांव वाले कहते हैं कि सर हमें चाहिए गांव में एक पानी का सिस्टम डेवलप हो जो हमें टाइम टू टाइम पानी दे. हमारे गांव में सर हेल्थ सिस्टम नहीं है, एक हमें हॉस्पिटल चाहिए. हमारे गांव में कोई एक क्या नाम है वो नहीं है जहां हम शादी ब्याह करते क्या कहते हैं उसको, जो भी कहते हैं मैरिज लॉन टाइप का कुछ भी छोटा मोटा कम्युनिटी हॉल नहीं है, तो उसकी उसकी डिमांड वो करते हैं और प्रोजेक्ट ये करता है. तो दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स विच कम अंडर द CER और CSR, ये सभी चीजों में हम ये सब चीजें करवा रहे हैं प्रोजेक्ट से. और प्रोजेक्ट मैं फिर से बात यहाँ कहना चाहूंगा, जो A कैटेगरी के प्रोजेक्ट है, बिकॉज आई एम रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर ओनली A कैटेगरी प्रोजेक्ट, B इज डीलिंग बाय द स्टेट. तो मैं A प्रोजेक्ट्स के बारे में बात करना चाहूंगा और वो प्रोजेक्ट्स करते हैं. मैं यहाँ से आपको बहुत ही कॉन्फिडेंस दिलाना चाहता हूँ इस इशू पे कि ये प्रोजेक्ट्स करते हैं, काम बहुत ही सीरियसली करते हैं.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Nachita, you had a question, right? हाँ बच्चा, Nachita, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
हाँ जी, please.
Sir, you have spoken about baseline data collection, right? So,
Yes,
sir,
yes.
I wanted to know, like, what is the particular time range for this data collection, like, related to air, land, air, water?
Yes. As for EIA, we have to collect at least 2 seasonal data. It means summer, rainy winter, either. Okay. But in case of mega projects, we have another categorization of the project like mega projects. Just for example, Terry Dam or some other kind of big dams are there in the country. So for that we need कम से कम हमारे पास तीनों सीजन के डेटा होने चाहिए, समर, विंटर, रेनी.
Okay, sir.
तो ये बेसलाइन डेटा हमारे पास ऐसा होना चाहिए, तभी तो हम कुछ कैलकुलेट कर पाएंगे और तभी हमारे मॉडल्स रन करेंगे. अदरवाइज वो मॉडल रन ही नहीं कर रहा है. आप अगर प्लूम बिहेवियर के मॉडल्स को अगर आप फैमिलियर हो, एयर प्लूम बिहेवियर्स के मॉडल्स को अगर आप रन कर किया होगा आप लोगों ने, तो आपको आइडिया होगा कि उसमें जो बेसिक डेटा हमें चाहिए, जो वो हमें कम से कम 2 सीजन के तो चाहिए ही.
Okay, sir. And also, sir, like you talked about appraisal committee. Like EIA report से पहले हम लोगों को कोई प्रायर एक्सेप्ट के लिए हमें किसी कमेटी से लेना होता है, like for
फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं फिर से क्लियर करना चाहता हूँ. सबसे पहले हमें मिनिस्ट्री में अप्लाई करना है फॉर्म कि मैं ये 500 मेगावाट का थर्मल पावर प्रोजेक्ट लाना चाहता हूँ, जस्ट एग्जाम्पल. ओके, बेस्ड ऑन दैट उसमें हमें बताना होगा कि हमें कहाँ लैंड ले रहे हैं, हमारा क्या प्रोजेक्शन है, ये सब हमें बताने होंगे. हमारे पास फाइनेंशियल ग्रांट हमारे पास कितना है, कहाँ से हम लोन लेंगे, ये सब हमको ड्राफ्ट करके देना होगा. आफ्टर दैट मिनिस्ट्री आपको टॉर देगी. टर्म ऑफ रेफरेंस. टर्म ऑफ रेफरेंस के विद इन 2 years आपको EIA बना के जमा करना है. क्लियर?
ओके सर.
और उस EIA जब बन जाएगा आपका, उसके बाद आप पब्लिक हियरिंग करा सकते हो, बिफोर अप्रेजल भी करा सकते हो. ठीक है. और उसके बाद आप मिनिस्ट्री में आओगे, EAC के सामने आप अपने प्रेजेंटेशन दोगे कि हमारा कोल लिंकेज यहाँ है, पानी का लिंकेज यहाँ है, ये यहाँ है, ये वहां है, हम ये बनाएंगे, इतने साल में कंस्ट्रक्शन करेंगे, फिर हमारा प्रोडक्शन स्टार्ट हो जाएगा.
ओके. एंड सर, आर देयर एनी चांसेस कि वो लाइक कोई भी XYZ रीजन की वजह से रिजेक्ट हो सकते हैं एंड वापस से वो प्रोसेस फिर से स्टार्ट होगा, लाइक हमें फिर से
नहीं, पूरा प्रोसेस देखिए ऐसे लिखिए, फिर से समझिए. सिस्टम बहुत, जैसे बच्चा कोई फेल हुआ, अगर मान लीजिए BSc में फेल हुआ, तो उसको पूरे एग्जाम तो नहीं फिर से देने हैं ना. एक यूनिवर्सिटी में भी ऑप्शन है कि आप उस पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट का एग्जाम फिर से दे सकते हैं.
यस सर. लाइक
हमें हमारे वहाँ भी सिस्टम है. हाँ, सो आप जो कहते हैं मैं भूल रहा हूँ. हाँ, तो हमारे वहाँ भी फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आपका पानी का कुछ कंसर्न है, तो मिनिस्ट्री आपको एक लेटर बना के देगी कि भाई इस पे हमारा डाउट है, इस पे हमको क्लैरिफिकेशन चाहिए, आप विद इन अ वीक, विद इन 10 days या नेक्स्ट मीटिंग तक हमें सबमिट करके दें.
ओके.
सो अभी जो कंप्लीट प्रोसेस है, अभी आज के डेट में अगर हम मिनिस्ट्री की बात करें, तो कोई अपनी जो मिनिस्ट्री हमारी है, ये विदिन 72 डेज से लेके 82 डेज के अंदर ईसी ग्रांट कर देती है।
ओके सर।
और अभी जो हमें रिसेंट अभी लास्ट वीक का हमारे पास जो अपडेट हमारी मीटिंग हुई थी कोऑर्डिनेशन कमेटी की, उसमें जो आया था 56 डेज का आया था। तो 56 डेज में बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स का तो हम नहीं कर सकते क्लियरेंस, बट छोटे प्रोजेक्ट्स का तो हो ही जाता है।
ऑल राइट सर।
So that's good, na?
Thank you so
Nachita,
much.
you learned so much.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
thought I saw one more hand go up along with Nachita. In case there's anyone else who wants to ask a question. Anyone else? I thought I saw someone else also. I guess there aren't any, but I think it's amazing, Dr. Gupta, the kind of information that you gave and the kind of response that the students have shown. One request I have is that in future, because we have an add-on course on climate change, which has been running for the last 3 years. In future, I would like you to be associated with it. Whenever we want your talks, we should be able to.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. So we seem to have found a gem today and to add to our group of speakers. Thank you so much. And it was amazing and very, very informative and also extremely practical. There are so many people amongst this group who might become entrepreneurs later, So for that, I think this kind of information is very, very necessary. In case you don't mind, I'll ask Abhishek to share your mail ID and phone number with the students so that they can be in touch with you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on this panel. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Abhishek, should I proceed with the second talk? Yeah. Participants, we have the second speaker of the day, the last talk for today, the fourth talk. I hope Shibaji is there. Shibaji, are you there? The talk is by Dr. Shibaji Bagar. I hope he's there. Shibaji, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Shibaji,
Good afternoon,
participants, it's such a pleasure to invite Dr. Shibaji Bagar to deliver the next talk. He is kind of a core member of our add-on course. He has always been associated with us and, as a young researcher and young member, he has always been there for all our, events, even including the national seminar that we held. So he's not new, but for us, but I definitely like to introduce him to you people. Like I said, Dr. Shibaji Bagar is a young researcher who completed his MPhil and PhD from JNU, having worked in the field in Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary, with which he is associated till now, and he works in the field or he goes to the sanctuary and works in Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary. And his area of interest is man and wildlife conflict, which I'm sure is an extremely interesting and cutting edge field as of now. And apart from the research that he does, for which he has published many papers in peer reviewed journals in international and national journals, he is also currently working as a faculty member in the Department of Botany in Swami Shraddhanand College, University of Delhi. So it's my pleasure to invite Shibaji, Dr. Shibaji, to address you all. Thanks, Shibaji, and you're welcome to take over from here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a nice introduction. Let me present my slide. Is it visible to all?
Yeah, yes, Shibaji, it is.
Okay. So, after the series of such a diverse lecture, it is very difficult to discuss the topic of biodiversity again. So, anyway, my topic is the interaction between the changing climate and the biodiversity, shaping humanity's future. So, before coming to the topic itself, first I want to discuss something about
the source-sink relationship in the process of climate change. So if there is your add-on course is going on, everybody might be aware of the source and sink relationship related to the related to climate change. So now I will discuss about the different type of sink or different type of ecosystem which behaves as the sink and which helps to mitigate the climate change. So as my area of research is forest ecology, so I will mostly focus on the different type of forest ecosystem, their role, and how the climate change is affecting this forest, and how they are affecting or mitigating the climate changes. So the focus of the presentation, it will be divided into four different categories. In the first part, I will discuss about the major forest ecosystems of the world. Then in the second part, I will discuss about the threat to them and their environmental implications. And third, how the climate changes impact the biodiversity. And in the next section, I will discuss about the biodiversity conservation in the light of the climate change. So, so far, different type of forest ecosystems are concerned. So, most important forest or the most diverse forest, they are located in the tropical part of the globe, and they are called the tropical rainforest. And these tropical rainforests, they are located between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, with the mean annual temperature of about 27 degrees. And this in this area, 40 to 75% of all the biotic species, they are located in this area. And as it is visible from the map, that wherever these tropical rainforests are located around the equator region, they are mostly developing countries and or the developed countries. So they consist of rich biodiversity as well as a rich wealth of mineral resources. So again, these assets they become a problem for this country that I will possible tell in the later slide. So this tropical rainforest, these are mostly confined to Amazon area, then Congo Basin, and the Southeast Asian region. And this Amazon rainforest, it is home to about 3 million species of plants and animals, and 1 million of the indigenous people. And so one of the major threat of this Amazon tropical rainforest is that it is spanning in 5 to 7 different Latin American countries, and these forests are under threat related to the cattle farm or the beef production. So by clearing this Amazon rainforest, the Latin American countries or the government, they promote the cattle farms to support the beef demand of the European countries and the American countries like Canada or USA. And these forests are also cleared for the soya production, and these soya productions, they are used for the animal feed and exported to mainly European countries and China. So in all the forest, we can see that the pressure is not only from the local people, but the pressure are due to the growing demand from the different countries or from the different developed countries. So here also the same case, the demand from the Europe, America, and the China and Russia. So from this country, demand from the beef or the soya product, it leads to the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest. Then this is the satellite image of deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. Around 20 to 30 years interval. And here you can say that by the name of development, once the road construction begins, then the degradation of the forest it become faster, because and such type of deforestation, it is also called as the fishbone type of deforestation. Like once the main road will go there, then on from this connecting road they will develop and it will appear like a fishbone. So this sort of development is very rapid, and it leads to a complete loss of forest within a very short span of time. So now most of the deforestation, like in case of the Amazon forest, the tree clearing, it has been already sunk the forest by around 15% from the 1970s level, extent of more than 6 million square kilometers. So this graph shows how the forest clearance it is decline, and as well as the forest fire, which add as the supplementary for the forest degradation. So in 2003, the Brazil is praised for reduction in deforestation, but the rate has risen due to the political turmoil and the economic restrictions, economic recession. And in 2019, deforestation again spiked to 10,000 square kilometer, largest in the decade. So due to the weak policy planning and the weak policy effort by the government, this deforestation are on the rise in spite of the international pressure. And this is the images of the tropical rainforest of the Congo basin. Congo is a river, and this DRC, or Democratic Republic of Congo, it is located on the bank of this Congo River, or Congo River passes through this DRC, or Democratic Republic of Congo, and this area, DRC, or Democratic Republic of Congo, is very rich in all mineral resources, like coltan, copper, zinc, tin, tungsten, gold. So you name a mineral resource and it must be present here. And like the three T's, like tungsten, tantalum, and tin, they are mostly found in this Congo River basin. And this is the reason, that is why this forest is under severe threat for the logging and the deforestation. So this surge in the mining activity leads to the habitat destruction of the primate species. The primate species like gorilla, their main habitat is in this tropical rainforest. So these things, mining activity, it leads to the destruction of primate habitat. Next, this Southeast Asian tropical rainforest. Southeast Asian tropical rainforest, they are mostly confined to our neighbors like Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. So these are the area which are will consist of this tropical rainforest part. And the major threat to the Southeast Asian tropical rainforest is the monoculture, like palm plantations, or the plantation for the palm oil, or the, in some cases, it is also rubber plantation. So these are the commercial plantation, or the monocultures, which are the main driving force for the deforestation of Southeast Asian tropical rainforest. And this palm oil cultivation, it leads to the degradation of the peat swamp forest. Peat swamp forest, peat are this is the very thick carbon rich soil layer, and so clearing this peat swamp forest for this monoculture like palm oil cultivation, it creates a CO2 volcano, or the carbon dioxide from the water, carbon dioxide from the peat soil, it is released, and the release is so fast that without any significant industry, the Indonesia is few years back it was considered as the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases after USA and China. So although there is no industrial development is in these areas, Southeast Asian countries, but still this forest clearing for the monoculture, it leads to the release of carbon dioxide from the peat soil, and these are just like the carbon dioxide volcano, or this release so much of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in such a short span of time that the total greenhouse gases contributions of the country rises very sharply. Now another important forest is the boreal forest. This boreal forest, they are basically located in the northern hemisphere countries like upper part of Canada and Scandinavian countries, and most part of the Russia, like Siberian region of the Russia. They consist of this boreal forest. In this boreal forest, one of the important features of this boreal forest is that they are less biodiverse forest as compared to the tropical rainforest. And these consist of only beech, pine, fir, pine, and spruce and larch. So these are the four species which are present in the boreal forest. So although very less species diversity due to the extreme cold climate, but they are spread to such an extent that a third of all the trees found in the planet they found in this boreal forest. So larger part of the forest it is contributed by the boreal forest, and the ground below this boreal forest they are frozen. They are frozen due to the low temperature. These are called the permafrost. So there is a thick layer of you can see here. This is a thick layer of ice. This is a permanent ice layer, and above that there is a very shallow layer of soil. And on this shallow layer of soil, it may be different type of ecosystem may be present grassland or maybe present forest. So this boreal forest, the upper reach of this northern hemisphere, they contain permafrost below the ground, and below the permafrost they store a rich or carbon rich soil, and you can imagine the extent of this carbon storage. That Canadian boreal forest, it store around 307 billion tons of carbon. So to such a extent they store carbon in the form of carbon rich soil under the permafrost. So due to the climate change, what is happening now, this permafrost is started melting. So if you ever visited to Russia, then you can see the upper part of the Russia, like Siberian part, you can see the building are sunken, or several depressions they are created because this permafrost is melting, and the whatever infrastructure is present above, they are just moving below the ground. So this clearing of this boreal forest, it is for the paper productions or some other timber purpose, it is harvested. But once this boreal forest is cleared, then it creates a cascade of greenhouse gases emission that it will be very difficult to then control the greenhouse gas level at the global level, because once the forest is cleared, then most of the carbon that is stored in the trees, it will be gone. Then after that, the soil will be exposed, and once the soil is exposed, then the permafrost will melt, and after melting of the permafrost, then there will be release of huge amount of carbon dioxide or the greenhouse gases like methane that is present below the permafrost. So this is the image of the permafrost. So now in this summer season, you can see that clearly in the upper part of the Canadian boreal forest, if you peek or if you make a hole in that area, then it will lead to the release of methane gas and the greenhouse gases that will be stored here. It will be released and it can immediately catch fire. So one of the few years back, there was a researcher. He just dig a hole and light a matchstick. Then it start catching fire. So that means a lot of amount of this greenhouse gases in the form of methane or other gases, they are stored under this permafrost, and once it is melted, then it will be create a cascading effect and very difficult to control. So when we look into the status of this boreal forest, so around 25%, 25.4 million acres of the forest, it has been cleared, and the threats are mostly from the industrial logging and the mining of oil, natural gases, and paper industry, furniture industry, and the commercial logging contracts of Russian boreal forest to the Chinese company for the timber, agriculture, and horticulture. So once if you try to find a single and common culprit for the destruction of the forest around the world, then it is definitely China. So you move to any part of the globe, like it may be your tropical rainforest of Congo Basin, or it may be a tropical rainforest in the Amazon area, or in the Southeast Asia region, or in the boreal forest of the Russia. So everywhere the Chinese company, they are involved in the logging or commercial harvesting of this timber. So even if you move to the Patagonian region in the tip of the Argentina, then also you can find the Chinese company taking the lease for the timber harvesting. So it is a major. If you look a single country, then it will be definitely China with its expanding population and expanding demand. They are heavily involved in the destruction of the logging of the forest of different countries around the globe. So these are something about the different forest ecosystem that is present in the world and their status or present status. So now, if you look at the relationship between this climate change, biodiversity, and the quality of life, then this biodiversity and climate change, they are affecting one another. Means, loss of biodiversity, it can increase the climate change, or the climate change can also leads to the decrease your biological diversity. And when you talk about the good quality of life, good quality of life is always has a negative impact on the climate change and the biodiversity. So more is the consumption, or the more is the luxury life, then it will be definitely have a negative impact on the biodiversity as well as climate change. And this climate change and biodiversity, they are inextricably linked with each other and with the human future. So for this both biodiversity and climate change, it can affect the biodiversity and the climate change in the form of indirect drivers, direct drivers, and so in the form of indirect drivers and the direct drivers, they affect this biodiversity loss or the climate change. The indirect drivers, like institutions, economic drivers, are like supply, production, consumption, and affluence, inequality, poverty, and human demography. Then technological drivers, governance, and socio-cultural drivers. And some of the direct drivers, they are responsible for this biodiversity loss, is like invasive species, direct exploitation, like pollution, land and sea use. So these are the direct drivers. So although these are called the indirect drivers, but these are more harmful than the direct drivers. The indirect drivers, in form of international policy or the international governance or the treaties, they have a much more role in the biodiversity loss and the climate change. Like I was talking about the China. So this China, through its policy, it has been responsible for loss of biodiversity in the different countries. But although it is indirect drivers, but it has much more impact than any other direct drivers like pollution or the invasive species. So the human welfare, or the human quality of life, or the human futures, it is inextricably linked with this climate change and the biodiversity. It directly affect both these parameters. So moving into a local example, or in the Indian context, we'll talk about the how the oak and the pine forest in the Himalayan region, it is affected by the climate change, or how they are affecting the biodiversity after the forest fire. Like both this oak and pine forest, they are the major forest of this hilly state like Uttarakhand, and the major threat for these forests are the forest fire and the anthropogenic factors like the extraction of fuel wood, fodder, or the leaf litter. So actually, the oak plant or the oak forest, they are the main forest of the state. But during the British period, they tried to replace the oak forest with the pine plant, and to for the commercial benefit of like terpenes or other chemicals that is derived from the pine plant. So that is why there was also the Chipko movement was also there to protest against this conversion of oak forest to the pine forest. So this cheap pine forest of the Western Himalayan region, as I have already told that these are promoted by the government for the commercial value of the timber and the resin, but the local peoples they don't support this pine forest because they are very much fire prone, and the leaves they don't have any fodder value or the manure value. So generally the local people or the local community they don't support the pine forest. And the pine is also known to be the pioneer species that easily colonizes in the landslide area and the other open areas. And this cheer pine or the pine plants, it yields good quality of oleoresins like turpentine oil and the rosin. So that is why there was a commercial lobby to plant more and more pine forest. But nowadays that lobby was over, and most of the government they are intended to plant the mixed forest. And the forest fire they are very common in this area or the pine forest area due to the highly combustible pine needle. And this control fire in the pine forest is also to promote the grass regeneration for the livestock. So when this pine needle falls on the ground, then they are basically some sort of slippery, and it also don't allow the grasses to germinate. So local people, what they do, they sometimes burn the ground containing the pine needle, or they do a control burning, so that fresh grasses it will appear and it will provide fodder to their livestock. So this forest fire, this is most important form of disturbance in the pine forest. But when you talk about this oak forest or the Banj oak forest, their complex vegetation structure lead to high diversity of fauna due to the expanded niches available for them for nesting, roosting, and the feeding. And it improves the moisture status of the soil and humidity inside the forest. The Banj oak forest it also play a critical role in enhancing the percolation of rainwater down the soil and recharging the subsurface spring and the streams. So far as local streams are concerned, this can be recharged if there is a nearby Banj oak forest or thick oak forest. But the presence of the cheer pine forest or the pine monoculture, it may leads to the depletion of water resources. In most of the cases, the streams they are very prominent near this mixed forest area or the oak forest area. So due to these multiple benefits, the local people they prefer these forests, and nowadays they are also promoting or trying to replace the old pine forest with this mixed forest or the oak forest. And these forests, like they are very much integral component of the traditional agro ecosystems, because they provide the manure resources for the agriculture, and they also use the primary fodder source for their livestock, and the wood or the plant part they are used for cooking and the room heating. And any waste material like the leaf litter or the any remaining part of the Banj oak that can be used for manure or for treating the agricultural field to fertilize the agricultural field. So these Banj oak leaves they mix with the cow dung, and they can be used as a manure for their agro ecosystem. So this is the difference between these two forests, like one monoculture, that is pine forest, and another one is mixed forest or the barn oak forest. But when we look at the species diversity, then this species diversity, mostly the avian population, they are very much high in the broadleaf barn oak forest as compared to the pine forest. So due to this forest fires, these are the community, the avian populations, they are the most affected by this forest fire. And this forest fire is somehow they are also, you can be say that it may be instigated by the local people at certain times, but the main driving force is the climate change or the irregular or the extended drought condition. It promotes the forest fire. So these bird population, they suffer most, because once there is forest fire, then all the dead and decaying logs or the wood, they will be burned by the forest fire, and these dead or dry wood at the different stages of the decomposition, they consist of the different insects, which are the main food resources of these birds. So the first and foremost individual that is affected by the forest fire are the bird population. So there are several other impacts of the forest fire in the Western Himalayan region. Like first of all, they destroy the soil organic matter, and second, they destroy the wildlife habitat, and they affect the avian population, and they also damage the forest regeneration and their productivity. And once there is forest fire, then their ecosystem is more prone to the exotic weed invasion, and the impacts of this forest fire, they has also impacts on the mountain natural springs. So more frequent is the forest fire, then there will be drying of natural spring or local springs which are found in the different remote villages. And another recent or compelling evidence of this negative impacts of the forest fire is that the glaciologists in some of or Indian glaciologists, they now recorded the deposition of black carbon on the nearby glacier, and this leading to the acceleration of melting. So the forest fire may be 100 or 200 kilometers away from the glacier, but the black carbon, it may be deposited on the glacier, and it leads to the glacier melting. So if we look into the similar conditions like in the other part of the world, then we can see that due to this climate change, due to the extended drought or the extended dry season in America or the Sierra part of the America, like towards the California. So this extended drought due to the climate change, they are basically leads to the pine beetle attack, and it kills millions and millions of trees due to this effect of climate change. So what they actually do is that if there is extended drought condition or the extended warm condition, then it provides a better breeding ground for these pine beetle. So they multiply in a very faster rate, and they go on consuming the phloem part of the pine plant and ultimately kill that plant. So once there is beetle attack, then they release certain pheromones, and it also attracts the other insect, so that the process of killing the plant, it becomes very faster. Although these insects, they exist harmonically with this forest, but once there is drought condition, then the plants also give or they offer very less resistance toward this beetle, and they are easily targeted by the or killed by the insect. And so this diagram or this schematic of overall structure and scope, highlighting the interconnection between the biodiversity, climate change, and their joint relationship with the human activities and the well-being. So this is a representation of schematic representation of how these three components like biodiversity, climate change, and the human welfare, they interact and affect each other. It can be seen from this diagram. So now, due to the climate change, most of the climatologists of the planet, they consider that we are on the way of sixth mass extinction at the present time. Or these mass extinctions are nothing but it is a situation in which more than 50% of the species population they are eliminated due to any type of outside the region, like comet strike or any volcanic eruption. So the region may be any of these, but it leads to the loss of 50% of the total species of the planet Earth. So most of the scientists they consider that this climate change is real and its effects are started showing, and there is a severe loss of biodiversity in the recent years, and they consider these years as the initial phase of the sixth mass extinctions of the species. And these are the 5 different previous mass extinctions, and we only known about the KT extinctions, that is present. This KT extinctions that is occurs during the period of dinosaurs, that a large comet that strike near the Mexico coast, and it leads to the global cooling and ultimately the death of the large reptiles like the dinosaur. But this plummeting region, this is the beginning of the sixth mass extinction. And one thing we should know, that there is no external threat, but it is only the climatic changes that is brought about by the human activity, which is responsible for this sixth mass extinction. For the human so-called development, it will be the reason for the for this mass extinction. In several plant species also they behave differently towards this climate change. Like most popular baobab trees of the African countries like Madagascar, it is also under threat due to the climate change, because due to the prolonged drought or the habitat loss or the ecological disruption, these these trees are under the constant threat of extinction. So if we talk about the extinction, then this extinction, it depends upon the different parameters, like some organisms, they can be better adapted to the changing climate, or they can be adjusted to any type of conditions. But some individuals, they may be more prone to the climate change, or they may be eliminated due to climatic climate driven changes. So here we can say that like the common factors like the large body size or specialized diet or the restricted distribution, they are the common factors which can lead to the extinction of the species. Like for the large body size elephant. So due to the large body size, the elephants need more and more food. So if there is food scarcity, then the first animal that will eliminated will be the elephant. And so far as their resilience toward the drought condition, it is also very less for the elephant. Like the African elephant population, when there is extended drought condition or in the African National Park, then it is the elephant population that will be hit hard. And second is the specialized diet. Like the specialized diet, examples are like the giant panda or the like king cobra. So they have the specialized diet. Like the giant panda, they eat only bamboo leaves. So they just mug up the bamboo leaves, and which have the low calorific value. So it have to consume more and more bamboo leaves to get the nutrition. And it is very unfortunate that this bamboo forest, they usually bloom in 30 to 50 years, once in 30 to 50 years, depending upon the species. So once there is a blooming or flowering season, then all the bamboo forest, they immediately dies off. So at such situation, these species are under extreme threat that they can die off or they eliminated due to the scarcity of food. Another is like restricted distribution, like the dodo. The dodo, these are the flightless fatty birds which are found in the Mauritius island. But once the seamen reaches that island, they easily hunt down these birds and they kill them for the meat purposes. And these dodo birds, they are eliminated around 1600 century. This is a very recent case of extinction driven by the killing of the bird population. Now, these are the factors that is responsible for the now I'll give some positive news for the biodiversity conservation, like environmental philanthropist. You must have been heard about this North Face, one of the garment company or the that is responsible for the manufacturing of the different garments or the cloth. So today I will tell you about the another face of this North Face, that this Douglas Tompkins. He is an environmental philanthropist and the co-founder of this North Face. So his company, North Face and the Spirit, they were very much popular. But in 1980s, he left the business and he moved to the Patagonian region of the Argentina-Chilean border. So then he spent rest of his life in protecting the wildlife or playing a significant role in the conservation of biodiversity. And he used to say that he's just paying his rent for living on this planet. And so he established several protected areas in this South American region. And before his death, he has permanently protected 15 million acres of temperate rainforest, Patagonian steppes, grassland, coastal area, freshwater wetlands, and he has created 13 new national parks within this tip of this southern hemisphere, tip of this southern cone. So these are the name of the national park or the sanctuary. They are established by this couple, like with their foundation, like Trumpkin Foundation. So they just acquire the land, or they just bought the land from the people by paying a significant amount from their company, and they establish the natural reserves or the protected areas and handed it over to the subsequent government. So initially there were problems like industrial aquaculture, gold mining, or dam construction in the pristine river. But after their conservation effort, they protected the pristine land, and they restored the degraded ecosystems, and they introduced the native species, and the community participation also promoted by them, so that the community which are responsible for killing the wildlife, or responsible for hunting the wildlife, they were used for the wildlife tracker, or they directly involved for the wildlife conservation. So this was the degraded condition, and later on it was restored by their conservation effort and handed over to the government. So after his death, his wife, like Chris Tompkins, with their foundation, they created a new marine national park covering 25 million acres. And in 2019, they passed 1 million acres to Chile to create 5 national parks and expansion of the 3. So this is the area that is equivalent to the area of Switzerland. So the area of Switzerland, they conserve and they finally donated to the host country, and they are just using this private nature reserves for the recreation purpose and for the conservation of biodiversity, or the study of biodiversity. So there is no commercial logging or no commercial hunting is allowed in that nature reserves. So after their conservation efforts, these are the few organisms whose population is restored in those areas, like giant anteaters, this cameloid species of your Andes. These are the Andes deer, and these are the green-winged macaws, and these are the giant otter, or the apex predator of the wetland system. So, and this green-winged macaw, it was missing for around 100 years prior to conservation. But after conservation, it was just returned to their nature reserve for the protected area, or they maintain a viable population of this green-winged macaw. So
please mute yourselves, participants.
So this is the things that we have, and this is the things we are longing for. We are just ignoring our biodiversity, and we are trying to build a colony in the Mars. So I hope you will prefer this first one, not the second one, unless it is very essential. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sivaji. Now it is the open for the question and answer round. Participants free to ask any curiosity or anything you can ask to this sir.
Yeah, participants, anybody? To
Yeah,
ask
Nachita, you can ask the question.
Nachita wants to ask, Abhishek.
Yes.
Yeah, Nachita, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I have a question. Like in hilly areas, people mainly meet their fodder requirement through forest, right? So, but it ultimately, increases pressure on forest areas. So, I wanted to know what would be the substitute for this, and if the forest are the solution for the problem, then what should be done to, decrease this pressure on these natural resources?
Well, actually, this agro-ecosystem and the forest ecosystem, they are very intricately linked in the mountainous area like for the Himalayan region. So these relations, it also helps the biodiversity. There is one concept that is intermediate disturbance hypothesis. So if there is intermediate disturbance in the forest, then biodiversity will be high. So if you maintain the disturbance to a very regulated level or very controlled level, then it will be very beneficial for the biodiversity. So if you ever visited to the forest or the thick forest, then you can see that there is very much less regeneration. But once one or two trees are cut down, then it creates a tree fall gap, and within this tree fall gap, different tree species they can germinate from the soil seed bank. So to some extent, it is very essential for the intermediate disturbance. And another factor is that in the hilly area, since the agricultural field is situated in the slope area, so you cannot apply the fertilizer there. Once you apply the fertilizer, then it will be immediately run down to the river by the rain. So generally they prefer such a organic manure which is derived from the forest or the agricultural residue, so that they can hold the nutrients for a longer period of time.
Okay, sir. Like, are there like any kind of crops that they should grow for meeting their requirement of fodder?
Yes, that is what they are doing. They are growing the crops which are suitable for their climate, like the millets or the mixed cropping they are carried out. These are the suitable.
Anyone else, guys? Again, Shubhankar, would you like to ask something? Should we wait for some time? Acha, in the meanwhile, I think there are some who are keen. Anybody, please, you can ask, because he's a young researcher like you, some of you, and he goes to Kedarnath often. So I think some of you can associate yourselves with him, with Dr. Shibaji. So you can ask some questions. Well, anyways, even if you don't have any questions right now, Dr. Shibaji is available. His details will be provided to you by Dr. Abhishek, so that you guys can get in touch with him whenever and find out a bit more. So I think, Abhishek, now let me propose a vote of thanks. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Shivaji, though you are a member of our group, but it is still, it's officially a very warm thanks to you for having delivered such an informative lecture. The thing was, it was very well put together. I mean, the information has been very well put together. There is a talk about the kind of forests there are, international and national. I mean, at the global level, vis-a-vis the Indian kind of forests, you tried to compare, which was very nice. And then you gave us information about most of the talks we have generally talk about the Indian scenario. I think this is one talk where we had a lot of information regarding the Amazonian rainforests or the Congo River Basin and so on. So that was very interesting. And also about permafrost, which hardly anybody ever talks about. And the second part was, of course, there was a lot of the way you tried to bring the animal and plant biodiversity. That was extremely interesting, because since your area of expertise is in wildlife, so that was very well brought out. Your comments about the animals that can go extinct and how we should be careful about it. Only I hope that we humans don't turn into dodos, anymore than dodos should have. And the other thing, of course, which I found extremely interesting was the human interest stories that you have brought in, talking about the founder of North Face and Esprit about, these are very inspiring for the present generation students as to how an individual can make a difference, just as so many are, cutting down trees like China is. I mean, unfortunately, China has emerged as as a villain in one more aspect because of what you told us. But I think there is also a lot of inspiration from what you have spoken, and the students will be extremely pleased to get in touch with you. Kindly do stay in touch with us and also with this group of students, so you can tell them what they can pursue in future. Thank you so much, and we would like to meet you in future as usual. Thank you so much, Dr. Shibaji. So nice of you. Thank you. So Abhishek, for tomorrow, you have some instructions to give?
Yeah. So finally, we are the completed 2 day out of the 3, and today we are taken to the 4 talk. In the morning session, Dr. Shubha Zamir from Terry School of the Advanced Studies, and second talk from the Dr. Y.P. Singh, ex-director ICR, Central Soil Sanitary Research Institute, Regional Research Institute, Lucknow, and evening sessions, again the 2 speakers, Dr. Amit Kumar Gupta, Additional Director, Regional Office Lucknow, Ministry of Environment and Forest, and 4th lecture, Dr. Sivaji Bagar, Department of Botany, Swami Shraddhanand College, University of Delhi. So with these words, we are the close this session of the second day, and the third and the final day we can start with the tomorrow. Tomorrow will be again the 2 session, 5th session in the morning, and we are and second in the evening. So 4 lecture in the tomorrow. Dr. Rajiv Pratap Singh, Institute of the Environment and Sustainable Development from BHU, and Professor C.P. Kaushik from Hisar, Haryana. And the evening session, Professor Jayant Kumar Tripathi, School of Environmental Sciences, JNU. And second talk and the final from the Dr. J.S. Chandrasekhar, Chairman, Department of Karnataka Open University, Mysore. And after that, the validatory session. So I again remind to you, because your attendance is the continuously monitoring by the Microsoft team. So it will be totally depend upon your attendance. So we are not going to compromise with these things. So your attendance is the required, and already with the permission of the Professor Sodhi, we are given to the 20% is the relaxation. So 80% is the mandatory. So be careful and attend all the sessions, because we cannot compromise in these sessions. Yeah. So, sir, Professor Sodhi, sir. So
It's going on nicely. Everything is going smoothly. Today I also shared one to my student. One student I think already joined.
Yes.
Because they are working PhD on environment related issues. So I talked with them. They were happy. one Shantanu, I think he joined. One Shantanu.
Okay, okay, no problem, sir.
All the experts are very nice. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Within short span of time, you have chosen right person with right theme. I'm happy. Definitely, I will recommend to my institute. In the future, we can conduct some more programs.
Yeah, sure, sir. We want to the more collaboration with you.
Yes, so Professor Sodi, we would like to invite your students to our college also for our future add-on courses, and you too, please, by all means. You must come and visit us sometime whenever you are free. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for invitation. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because no one can work
Thank you, sir.
We have to work in collaboration. I always believe in that.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. So,
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much, Shivaji. So nice of you.
Yeah, I am Shantanu Bhomik, scholar working under Professor Sir. Sorry, sir.
Wonderful,
So,
Shantanu.
okay,
Wonderful.
okay, okay.
It's great
Okay,
to have you,
sir.
Shantanu. Wonderful.
yeah.
And
Thank
do
you so
join
much, sir.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
And Shantanu, please join for
Yeah.
our add-on course, which happens every year. So I think you please stay in touch with us, and along
He's
with your
from
guides.
24 Pargana, West Bengal. 24 Pargana, West Bengal. He is very sincere,
Okay.
hardworking.
Wonderful.
So he is working related on all these issues. Right.
So nice. Thank you.
So with this thing, because the time to the end of the second day, so we can stop the recording firstly,
Yes.
and after that we will